I thought I'd make a video about the Trading Game book by Gary Stevenson. Give some of my thoughts on that. I actually found out about Gary through YouTube. Didn't really know what to make of him at first. Gave it a chance and liked what he was saying about wealth inequality. And then found out he was a former trader at Citibank, one of their top traders in the early 2010s, according to him. And yeah, I've been interested in trading for best part of a decade now, and just thought I'd take the chance to look into how things work in institutions from an insider who's quite candid and open about everything, has no axe to grind necessarily and nobody to protect. He's just quite open and candid, so it was really interesting. He's himself from a working class background, so he has that sort of diverse difference of opinion, I guess, going into that world where, as he says, everyone's from a top school or sort of, yeah, not really from working class backgrounds in general. So he managed to make the most of his mathematics ability and gained a place at the London School of Economics. And there he was actually tipped off about a trading game, the winner of which gets a place or an internship, I think it was, at the Citibank trading floor. So he actually played it non-stop, trained himself up, played it with lots of people, and found a few loopholes and workarounds in the game to ensure that he'd win most of the time. He actually took what people were doing as predictable and forced them to do more of it, essentially. So in that game, so he kind of had a trader's mindset before he even went into trading. And then he went on to the FX desk, FX swaps at Citibank, where he learned his style of trading. So as I said, it wasn't 100% what I thought it would be. Knowing him from the Gary's Economics channel, where he talks about wealth inequality, I thought it would be maybe teeing up more into those wider discussions. But actually, it was more of a straight trading story sort of being recounted. He talked about the sort of the culture on the floor, very macho, as you'd expect. And people sort of guarded their edge, but also shared and encouraged, each other. He had eventually, when he'd got his confidence and abilities up, a bit of a contrarian strategy against the recovery of interest, the recovery of the economy and therefore the interest rates. He bet on them remaining low, basically, on the FX swaps desk, so he could just pick currencies to trade against and make the difference between those interest rates for as long as that remained true. And he did it to great effect, and that's actually what placed him at the top of the leaderboard several times for several years in a row, I think. So what it also highlighted, though, in the book, which is interesting, is that it's not only retail traders that have counterparty risk. These guys can't leave the floor if they're doing well. They can't leave and take everything they've earned with them. The bonuses have to be earned out, essentially, especially if they're large. There are a few loopholes which he tried to make the most of, but that comes later in the book. Basically, if you want to leave, you're going to have a tough time. They really sort of put the thumb screws on you and try and get you to stay. And then you get all the realities of sort of the risk management, what you're allowed to risk, what they'll let you risk, and what you have to do day to day to keep up with everyone, like the drinks with the brokers and the early starts, working around news releases, all that kind of thing. So your life isn't necessarily your own, and you don't have the great freedom, at least while you're doing it, that it may appear from the outside. That was really eye-opening for me. As I say, it sort of demystifies everything. If it worked like that at Citibank, I'm sure it was a damn sight similar at other trading floors in London and across the world, because a lot of the people he was working with were from the US or other parts of the world as well. So I can't imagine there'd be a massively different culture elsewhere. So it was really reflective of how things were. I don't know how it looks now. I know a large part of the market is algo driven, but I'd imagine these trading floors are still going, and we'll hear more in years to come. Yeah, he highlights some of the psychological challenges around all that risk and risking against, taking positions against positive things or also negative things happening in the world, betting on wars, economic collapse, and making profit from that, and the ethical challenges around that. Really interesting discussions, and I think it's how he ended up with his perspective as he sees it now from his background in their world, and then coming away from it after all the struggles to actually leave. It throws up some really interesting questions. Sorry, I've had AI write some of these bullet points, and to be honest, I had it write a script as well, but I've just chucked it because it was pretty pointless. It just reworded everything I'd written terribly, like a high school student trying to impress the teacher or something. So yeah, emphasizes the role of luck versus skill. Okay, that kind of happens a bit in the book because he's in the right place at the right time to get the job. But the skill part, I'd say he's got a great mindset for trading, and has a lot of skill there, and that was acknowledged. I think he just sort of stuck to his guns with his position, but changed it when it needed to be changed and recovered significant losses at times, which is not an easy thing to do. He could quite easily have been canned, but he was savvy enough to keep in the game, the trading game. Yeah, like I say, personal sacrifices. Your life isn't really your own, and you can get dragged into alcoholism, drugs, and all sorts of excesses, as is the culture when people are on a high. So yeah, I was trying to figure out from the book and from his YouTube channel, like how he trades now, because he advises people not to trade against him. Because he still trades now on like the IG index platform, I think he said. I just know it as IG, but yeah. And I'm guessing he uses some kind of so he was on the swaps desk and he looked at interest rate differentials, and he'd have been taking multiple positions, one longer term position, and then doing the reverse of that daily, collecting profit sort of, and hedging himself. But I don't know how advanced his trading can be now through a retail broker. Presume he's got some hedging going on, but yeah, hard to tell exactly how he trades. But he says he still trades his own account successfully, so I'll update on that if I ever find out more. But I can't imagine he's scalping the RSI or something. I think he'll be taking longer term positions. So for me personally, I found the book very refreshing and inspiring. It's very easy to get sort of stuck in the weeds a bit when you've been looking at the same subject for many years, but to see how in parallel to when I was learning, or probably a little before then, but this guy was in the trenches, working, sweating away, doing all the stressful things he had to do. And it wasn't a 100% positive experience by the sounds of it. So it's refreshing in the way that I now feel vindicated, or, I don't feel like I've missed anything by not going into that world. I'm quite happy to be a retail trader and to just enjoy the puzzle of the markets in that way with no stress, or at least not that level of stress. Yeah, the other book that I'm going to review by Steve Ruffley, although I don't, agree with his worldview in the same way, I don't think it's quite as developed as Stevenson's. I think his approach to risk and trading is very interesting. Again, not 100% my style, but like very eye-opening. I'll get onto that one in that review. Should be coming up soon. And yeah, just a few more final thoughts. So obviously we got a candid look into institutional trading. We got some insights from real traders. There's also a great blog actually which mirrors this from the US. I'll put a link in the description. It's not necessarily Citibank. I forget. Oh, it was Ray Dalio's firm. Yeah, of course it was. And it's all the very similar descriptions of trading. Actually, that was more like spot-based trading, which is crazy. I didn't even realize. But obviously, it's more of a prop shop. So, yeah, it was just a candid look at how they trade institutionally. I felt like I gained a new perspective on trading. Listening to the book, should I say, on Spotify. Well worth spending the time doing. You can speed it up though. He speaks slowly. I don't know. I probably do as well. But you can speed him up. He probably was told to speak slowly and clearly. But you feel free to sort of... Well, they might have even slowed him down in post actually. But yeah, feel free to put 1.5 or 2 speed on it because you can whip through the content that way and have the same experience. Okay, GPT's made me a slide that says thank you, and I have to encourage you to like and subscribe. It's like the rebirth of my channel. It's just starting again. I'm not going to push liking and subscribing. I think, hopefully, YouTube should give new channels a chance, and we should get picked up enough by the algo. There should be enough interesting info in here for people to make their own minds up, so I'll just invite any comments or questions, but definitely recommend this book. And I'll post the blog as well because a few people I've shared it with found it really interesting as well. That's it. Yeah, have a great day. Thanks for listening.